Quick Start, which offers a variety of options facilitating quick and easy map creation. This webinar focuses on creating layouts, which are the vehicle for presenting created maps and data views. And we're going to begin this session by creating a new map of the United States so that we have a map to work with for the layout that we will create next. So I've created a map of the United States. This map includes North America in its whole, Canada and Mexico, as well as showing the oceans all around in blue. I'm just going to begin by slightly adjusting my map view, as well as removing North America from the background and changing the background color from the blue, showing the water, just to a white. You can turn off this American landmass layer to hide the surrounding countries. I'm also going to turn off the highway layer and give the state layer a solid white fill. And once I have done this, I'm just going to go to the background for this map and change the style to none. So I've now created a map of the United States that is just showing the United States. I think I'm going to change this color for the background of the states just a little bit to a beigey color so that the states stand out just a little bit. I now have my map, and I'm going to create a layout. So layouts are designed to incorporate multiple Maptitude windows into one printed sheet. Layouts use whatever printer you have available to you, and we'll begin creating a layout by going to the File menu and selecting New. In the New File dialog, I'm going to select Layout and click OK. This opens up a blank sheet of paper representing the layout. Layouts are what you see is what you get. So what you see on the screen is exactly what will be printed. I'm going to begin by looking at the layout properties by going to the File menu and choosing Properties. I can also reach this by clicking the Properties button in the toolbar at the top of the Maptitude window. The very first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to specify which printer I want to use. I actually want to create a larger print as a PDF, so I'm going to select my PDF generator. And the paper size, Arch E, is pretty large, so I'm going to pick that, as well as the orientation. Paper sizes are attached to the printer itself. So in the case of a standard printer that prints 8.5 by 11 or 11 by 17, you will have only the options which that printer supports. After making the changes as desired, I'm going to click OK, and Maptitude updates that layout so that it is reflective of the page sizes that have been specified for the printer that I selected. I now have a big white sheet of paper, and just to give you an idea of how large this page is, I'm going to go ahead and turn the rulers on using the Hide or Show Rulers tool. After having done this, I can see that my layout, the file that will be created, and the page space I have available is 36 by 48 inches. I'm going to begin by adding my map of the United States. To do this, I will use the Place Map/Data View in Layout tool. This tool is located in the Tools toolbox. After activating this tool, my icon becomes a crosshair, and I can simply click and drag the space that I want my map to occupy on this printed sheet, when I let go, Maptitude will allow me to select from any of the open windows in this session. I only have one window open, and that is my map of the U.S. Because this is a very large layout, this is not something that you'll have to worry about if you're using letter or legal size, but in a very large layout, I'm actually going to choose this option to use actual point sizes. This will retain the fonts at the font sizes that are specified. After making my options, I'm clicking OK. Maptitude draws the map in the specified area on the layout. As you can see, this occupies a good bit of my screen real estate. I can change the shape of this window by activating the pointer tool and reshaping the window as desired. When the map was added to the layout, the legend was appended in the lower right-hand corner. It is here. I can include this and move it to any location which I like. I can also make this legend bigger by changing the font sizes. So if I want it to stand out a bit more, I can do so. Now keep in mind, this layout is set to be 3 feet by 4 feet. So even though this looks tiny right now, it will actually print much larger than it currently appears. I'm going to zoom into this legend just to illustrate that by activating the zoom in tool and clicking and dragging around this legend. So the legend itself, looking above, is about 1 inch by 2 inches or so. Again, if I want this to print larger when it's printed out, I can adjust those legend sizes. I have my map for the United States. One of the options that I do want to go ahead and execute is to right-click on the map and to choose Properties. Maptitude has an option which allows me to always redraw the map. I'm actually going to leave this off for now. I just want to mention that to you. As I zoom in, even though this looks really blurry, it will not print blurry. And I can have a better idea of how it will print by choosing this option to always redraw the map. You can see that this is how it will print, which is much crisper than it first appeared. I'm actually going to uncheck that, and I'll explain why in just a moment, and go back to my initial map scale. So now that I have my map of the U.S. included, I would also like to include little insets for Hawaii, Alaska, and Puerto Rico. To do this, I'm going to go back to the map by selecting it from the window menu. Now I could create additional maps, or I can use the same map that I was using previously. I'll look at each of these options and show you how they differ from one another. For now, I am just going to use the same map, and I am going to pan around to where I know Alaska is located. So I now see Alaska in my map. If I click on my layout to make it the active window, I can now use the Place Map / dataview and Layout tool once again and draw a box that I want Alaska to occupy. Now that I've done this, I have Alaska included in my layout. Of course, I can resize it as desired. And in this case, I don't want to have my legend visible, so I'm simply going to click on it and click the Delete key on my keyboard. Another option for creating additional views in this layout is that I can double-click on any map in the layout to create a copy of that map for my Maptitude session. So I now have actually 2 map windows, my first one and then this copy. The benefit of doing this is that you have a separate window for each of your additional maps. If you're using the Always Redraw function, and I will go back to that layout and show that to you. So I can now see Alaska. When I'm choosing this always redraw function, it will redraw the map even when it changes, which is not what you want to have happen if you're using one map for all of your insets. I've adjusted my view of Hawaii, and I'm going to use that map now in my layout. So I'm going to click and drag another rectangle, select my second map that I just created, and set this to redraw as well. So I now have two copies of the map. I can use either one, and they will maintain the focus of what I have zoomed to. I'm going to go create another map just for illustrative purposes. So I now have a third map that I'm going to use to zoom to Puerto Rico. I have Puerto Rico showing, and you can see that it has some water showing around it. I can turn that off by turning off the water area layer. And now I have Puerto Rico free floating as my other states are displayed. So I now have added my main map of the continental United States, as well as each of these inset maps. And these inset maps are all sized however I want them to be sized. And in this case, let me just change this to always redraw. Make all of these the same so I can zoom in and you can see how nice they look. In this case, Puerto Rico is actually showing the streets where I don't want them to be shown. So if I go back to that Puerto Rico map, I can simply turn off the street layer, and my map now looks more similar to the way that it looks for the other states. Going back to my layout, if I want to get that new version of the map into this one, I can simply right-click and choose Replace, then choose Map to again. Maptitude substitutes what is in that portion of the map with the updated view of the map itself. So I now have my three insets, and I'm going to put them at the edges here of my US map. And if I want Maptitude to space these items out more evenly below my US map, I can select each by holding the Shift key and clicking with my pointer key, and then use the option in the toolbar at the top that allows me to distribute my objects across the page. And that's actually arrange left to right on layout. Using this tool will space these items out a little bit more evenly. It grouped them together, which is okay. I'm just going to center them below this item, which is my larger map. So far I have created a map with three insets. I'm also going to have a listing, include a listing of each state with some data. To do this, I'm going to go back to my original map by choosing it from the window menu. You can get back to that map any way you'd like. And I'm going to open a data view for the state layer. When adding data views to layouts in Maptitude, all of the columns that you have displayed will be added. I don't need them all, so I can narrow my view by choosing the data view menu, then choosing fields and clearing everything. I'll simply go through and add in the fields which I want to see in my layout, which will include the state abbreviation, the household median income, and the population. After having selected these fields, I'm also going to sort my data view based on the state abbreviation so that it's more legible. Since this data view also includes information for some of the U.S. territories that I do not want to include, I'm going to go ahead and select everything here so that I can remove from that selection the states that I don't want to show. So I'm going to choose, I'm just going to, let's see here. This is redrawing my map. It's just going to take a little while longer. You know, I think I'm actually rethinking this. I want to leave those territories in. So I will do that. And I'm going to choose that one. Okay, so now my map is all back the way that I want it. And I'm going to return to my layout. Where I have all three of my windows, my layout windows showing. I've just refreshed this data view so that everything looks the way it did before. I'm going to add that data view using the Add Map/Data View to Layout tool again, this time drawing in the area I want my data view to occupy. I can choose that data view from my list, and Maptitude automatically adds it in the space provided. The font is a little larger than I wanted, so I'll simply go to the properties here, change the font to 16, and then all of the data are shown next to my map. Of course, I can rearrange these items in any way as desired, making my map window bigger now that I know how much space is occupied. Aligning my items to the top using the Align to Top tool. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a title to my layout using the Freehand Text tool. You can click and drag the area that I want my title to appear. I'm going to call this U.S. Customers. Again, I can alter the size of this text by right-clicking with the pointer tool and choosing Properties, and then typing in whatever text size I desire. Once I have entered the text as I wish, I'm going to go ahead and center it on my map. My very last step to make this map look nice for printing purposes is that I'm going to include an image from my company's logo using the Insert Image tool and clicking and dragging a space that I want this image to occupy. I'm going to go ahead and browse to the location where my image is currently stored. And choose the image that I want to use. Let's go ahead and use my Maptitude image. So I now have created a layout that looks exactly the way I want, including multiple windows, a data view, a title, and an image. I can print this layout by going to the File menu and choosing Print. Since I've chosen a PDF writer, I can simply name the file whatever I desire and put it in whatever location that I'd like. Once this file is sent to the printer, I'll have the opportunity to enter the file name. When printing to an actual printer, the item will be queued and will print directly. Layouts can be saved using the File menu and choosing Save. You can also save the entire contents of your Maptitude window using the File and then Save Workspace option. I'll go ahead and move on to any questions that you might have. So I'll give you an opportunity to enter those questions in, and I will then move on to responding to those. In absence of any questions, I want to thank you for attending this webinar. We do have many webinars scheduled for the future, so I encourage you to check out the listing on our website, www.caliper.com, in order to view those. Thank you for your attendance today. And as I said, please join us for any future webinars. Bye-bye.